Okay, so hello everyone. Today we have with us is Qaisar Khan. So Qaisar is a software engineer. Basically, he's an electronic engineer turned software engineer. Currently working at Tawk.to, right? A software engineer. Basically, JavaScript पे काम करते हैं, Python पे काम करते हैं, पढ़ाते हैं, सिखाते हैं. So let's talk to him. So how did you went from being an electronics engineer to the software engineer?
Sir, as you know, electronics engineering, it's like mix up of so many departments. और उसमें जो एक ही चीज है वो मुझे क्लिक की जो कि सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग है. I mean, electronics engineering is quite interesting. You get to know about electronics itself, telecommunication, software, electrical. So it's like a mess up in the electronics thing. But the only thing I clicked was the software thing. I used to have good grades in programming, but unfortunately it was minor. So my grades are kind of okay, right? Yeah, so after the electronics, I tried to, as usual, when you graduate, you try to get some jobs. And I really had a hard time finding a job for an electronic engineer. So eventually I thought like, screw it. I'm gonna switch to the software full time because I can understand it, I can feel it, and that's what I'm gonna do. So before I could do any job, I thought like let's officially switch because uh, still I was being called like an electronic engineer. So I tried my best to get a scholarship in Malaysia. That's where I took software engineering. I did my master's in there, so I can officially can say that I have, master's in computing and information systems rather than being said just electronic engineer. Yep. So after that, that was the biggest breakthrough of my life because that was the time electronics was okay, but the COVID was there and AI is like blooming that time. And luckily, my topic was NLP, so it gave me a little bit of push for starter. That's where I really had to say like I have to go into the AI stuff, and then I officially understood the LLM, how it works, how we can improve. Um, the wheel was already invented, way before then. We used to create articles from GPT-3 local machines, but that Chat GPT thing that completely blew up the industry, like give a new perspective to think about these generative models. So I applied to the Tawk.to because they are like a chatbot company that's one of the greatest. I think they own around 50% of market when you talk about online customer support systems, right? So they just was a conventional chatting system, a boss or software that provides a way to interact with your visitors and all that. And that was breakthrough for them as well because they were looking for some sort of automation in terms of chat gpt and all. They want like, why do we have to answer all the questions manually, because most of them are repeating questions. Because if you run a, let's say, a shop, then most of your clients would ask same question again, right? So at least for our initial object was like, at least for those questions we can create something automated, so we don't a customer agent can actually help a customer which is having issues rather than just answering FAQs, right? So I think that's where we kind of match with each other. I got a chance to explore how can I use these LLM and new technology thing with existing traditional chatbots. So yes, I'm still backend engineer at there. I think there's a feature called AI Assist. Hopefully, if you guys ever used with the chat talk, so that's currently um, live in production. Everyone can use it. I'm sure customers are having fun with it. So that was so far brief how I come up to the talk thing.
Yeah, that's great. Acha, the interesting thing about your journey is कि you started as an electronic engineer and you thought कि देखो इसमें चार पांच चीजें हैं, सर्किट वर्किट बनाने होते हैं, ये वो सारी चीजें हैं, but like I can
Yeah.
understand this कि मैं वो सॉफ्टवेयर एस्पेक्ट के साथ ज्यादा कनेक्ट कर पा रहा हूँ. So if I had a chance, I would go for that. And then you continue वो मास्टर्स में उसको कनेक्ट करना and then going for NLP. This is something that बहुत ही ना this seems like a natural progression. It is not, but it seems like a very natural progression in your case. And then अच्छा उसके बाद then going to a software development company, not specific, because usually हम लोग के साथ ये होता है कि when we are doing stuff like that masters, most of the time we will go for the research oriented jobs as a researcher or an R&D department. We usually बहुत कम ऐसा होता है कि हम लोग ऐसे development में directly चले जाते हैं. So like you going from that research element, taking that research mindset and going into that development. So like you're doing backend engineer. So what's your choice language of choice?
I mean, I started from Python. I'm pretty sure everyone did. It's quite awesome,
Yeah,
except the
we all loved
indentation
it.
problem. But so personally, right now, I actually love JavaScript, especially the ability of JavaScript to run on literally any machine. Right? So, I mean, because JavaScript was created in a very rush, there's so many things that is now improving along the new ECMAScripts. But so far, I think I love JavaScript more than Python, right? Um, especially when you have to deal with input outputs. But when it comes to processing or computational heavy job, I think Python is still the king.
The thing that JavaScript, the evolution of JavaScript is amazing. It started like those are 11 12 tak it was like just we were using jQuery. I'm not sure if you've used jQuery or not, but everyone was using jQuery or interestingly jQuery just launched its latest version this year, with new features and all. I was not के 10 12 साल के बाद why are you launching new version, but they were thinking कि कुछ हो जाएगा. I'm not sure क्या. But so those are Bharat, it's very stagnant and jQuery or and we are using Ajax to request and stuff. वो सारी चीजें, and then the React came, Node.js and stuff. वो सारी की सारी चीजें 2009 onwards backend पे हो रही हैं. हम लोग के पास तो बहुत लेट आया, but like that's very amazing कि किस तरीके से they have changed this entire ecosystem of rapid development. And I think startups ने
Yes,
बहुत ज्यादा फायदा लिया
absolutely
है.
agree.
And startups have a lot to do with इसके साथ कि वो startup culture और JavaScript का evolution बहुत साथ साथ हुआ, because a lot of startups were looking for a language और technology जो बहुत जल्दी rapidly prototype किया जा सके, point of proof systems बनाए जा सके, proof of concept systems बनाए जा सके. So I think that has a lot to do with JavaScript, right?
Sir, I also believe like jQuery is kind of a bridge from
Yeah,
a
of
plain
course.
JavaScript to going something modern like React. I mean,
Yeah.
In plain JavaScript, when you start your development, you have like these painful functions of listening to events and creating a modification of DOM. But jQuery make it so beautiful and easy that you can actually love interacting with these events rather than being so much pain.
Yeah,
So
I
I
remember.
think
I remember the first time I was using this dollar sign and like this. अच्छा बस इससे document और get element by do सारा कुछ हो गया, this one line, and then I was like writing complete event वो पूरा का पूरा के triggering an event, click event on some कोई document object पर, and I was like बस एक line में हो जाता है. So it was very amazing to me, and like यार this is nice, this is nice. Ajax call करना उस पर I was like fan कि हाँ यार this is very true. It worked as a bridge. इसने बताया क्या, नहीं देखो खाली जावास्क्रिप्ट से काम नहीं होगा, you need something.
correct. I think that was the magic point for jQuery itself in that era. That's what they captured, and I think they did it amazingly. They still do, and I'm pretty sure that it's still helping a lot of people switching from plain JavaScript to go something modern towards React or towards Vue.js. But I think it's just a step that you cannot avoid. It's
Yeah.
inevitable.
So do you prefer Fetch or Axios?
That's completely ridiculous. developers' point of view, but I think I still love Fetch
Come on.
because
It's a
I
native.
don't have to bootstrap anything. You just fetch it. Yeah, but Axios has a lot of good ecosystem. You can actually do a lot, but when it comes to fetch, you can just give me fetch it.
Okay, so let me ask you another controversial question. Tabs or spaces?
Yes, I think spaces and also
No,
with two
come
spaces,
on.
not four. I know I'm weird.
Why would you press a button twice?
I don't. Prettier does it for me.
But like, come on. वो बहुत नजर आ रहा है कोड में. It shows कि these are spaces. But
I don't know. I think it's okay to give some space to your code. You know.
I mean, you can do that with tab. So I love tab. I love
Yes.
tab. Achha, maybe
I don't
because
know. The tape always give me this aggressive feeling that you have to put this space. You cannot deny it. You cannot reduce it. You just there's a
this
space.
is, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah,
Um,
अच्छा, maybe it's because I'm from Python. So tapes are like lifesaver
yeah.
for us. अगर हम लोग वो spaces वाले indentation रखते हैं, so like
Hmm.
it will be too much of hassle to maintain it. And I'm not
True.
saying that I'm going to do it manually. Of course, there are tools and
Hmm.
no one does that manually, right? Uh, but writing
Yes.
code and on the
Completely.
stuff, because I have this OCD thing, na, कि if there's not space between equal to name of variable and the value that I'm putting it, like it will, and that's problem for me. I have to put that space myself. So that's
Right.
kind of thing that I'm talking के, yeah, यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा मैटर करता है यार, टैब स्मॉल कर रहे हो, स्पेस स्मॉल कर रहे हो, कैसे कर रहे हो. So of course,
Right.
Prettier or tools like that pretty much does a lot of it. You use ESLint, right, or not?
Yes, we pretty much there is no application that you would bootstrap without ESLint.
Yeah.
I mean, it just ensures that you not only coding, but you are coding with best practices. Right? So it's whenever I bootstrap any node project, I go with ESLint for sure, and along with that, I go with Prettier. They have like pretty good compatibility if you configure it properly so that your code gets not only beautified but also they make sure that you are following the best practices.
Yeah, this one thing
Yeah.
that I love about JavaScript, that in modes you can enforce type. In
Yes.
Python, you can do it optionally, but there's no way to enforce type. I would love to see,
Right.
because types are like, they would cause huge bugs. I've seen a code, done things, because types are like, for me, the most biggest cause of bugs. So I would
Hmm.
want the way that JavaScript allows you to enforce type, Python should have something like that, right? What do you think?
Yes,
That would be
obviously. I
interesting.
mean,
But like Python has that charm that no, I'm not, I'm cool. I don't care what you do, just do it. So that's maybe something
I-
that doesn't go the vibe with Python, but I would love to see that. मुझे वो देखना पड़ अच्छा लगेगा. मुझे अच्छा लगेगा कि अगर कोई ऐसा मोड हो, मैं
yes,
जैसे जैसे वो हम लोग कहते हैं ना, स्ट्रिक्ट मोड इस्तेमाल करते थे जावास्क्रिप्ट के अंदर, इन व्हिच वी हैव टू
yes.
मेंशन एवरीथिंग एंड स्टफ. तो I would want to see something like that, कि कोई ऐसा मोड है in Python
Hmm.
that in which we could enforce types. Acha,
Yes.
so moving on from the very technical discussion, I would like to know your experience as a remote developer, and like, did you started doing job, or you started from the path of as a freelancer, remotely काम कर, because you're right in you're in Pakistan right now, right, and you're working remotely. ऐसे.
Yes.
So I want to understand this
Yes.
pathway कि वो freelancer से या किस तरीके से वो पूरा का पूरा structure होता है.
Yes, sure. So as far as the journey, I think when I started feeling that software thing back in my university life, I actually come across with this platform called Fiverr. I think right now pretty much everyone is aware of it. But that time it was not really that okay or that cool. So uh, I started freelancing in like second year of my bachelor's, and that time I was just creating blogger templates. I'm not sure if these generations know what is a blogger. So that's a platform by the Google, which actually provides a cool page where you can create your own post and stories all about that. So at that time, I used to have a blog because we were kids and I still love gaming. So what I used to do, I find pirate games and try to host them right on the blog. But what the problem was that there was not really good looking websites back then, especially for blogger. So that was my first skill that I understood that can be cached, right? So I started creating writing templates for blogger. So from there, I actually get to know how powerful JavaScript, HTML, and CSS could be, and from there I progressed to making websites. I remember the third year, I was volunteer freelance, not really freelance, but volunteer web developer for IEEE. I think every student would know what IEEE is because every university have their branches. They pick up their
Yeah.
chairmans and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. The ecosystem of IEEE, and I created the first IEEE website for Mute Zeb. I'm not sure if it's alive or maybe they have changed or migrated, but that was my first site that I can proudly say was on the internet. Even though I use some pre-made templates, no doubts, but that was like my first website out there. So coming back to the question, yes, I started freelancing in um, almost 2018 or so, um, and since then I have been pretty much working freelance because it was very hard to find a company that give you a job when you're not graduate, especially in Pakistan, right? And especially in software industry. So since then, I've been freelancing different time zones, different clients. I transitioned from Fiverr to Upwork, um, and Upwork as well. I've been um, pretty much remote. Yes, pretty much remote. I think that this is my first job, Talk.to, that was in walk-in. I mean, this is my first real job ever. Yes. So once I graduated, I got that, and I walked in to the office for around hardly 6 months, and then my graduation finished, my visa expired, I had to come back, and since then I've been remote with them. I think it's quite a good experience to remote, especially in a software field, because there's you need to learn how to collaborate from different zones to a code, you know uh, pretty much that's only trouble when you work with the remote job. The only trouble is that time zone,
Yeah.
right? So their office start at 9, which is around 6 for me, and unfortunately I cannot join at 6.
Yeah.
So I join at 9 in my time, which is around afternoon their time,
Yeah.
right? So but actually what happens, like, first 3 hours my teammates, because every department they have partners, because you cannot code and maintain an application alone, right?
Yeah.
So I have a team and my partners from different time zone. I think one is from Philippines, other from the Malaysia itself, and there's also from the, I think it's Canada. So we have like 3 different time zones, and the only time that we all are there is lunchtime for me. So that was like only gap that you see, like, yes, everyone is in the room, everyone in the meeting, you can ask questions and collaborate. Beside that, you pretty much just some is there, someone is not there because of the time zones. But I think it's pretty cool how supervisor manages that, right? Because if I remember, he joins at his time and he ends at my time. So it's like 12, almost 12 hour shift for him. But he's really great guy, and I think I really appreciate that.
He's
But
from
so far,
Malaysia.
I think yes, from the Malaysia. So once you really get along with your employer time zone and you find that sports like this is gonna work best for us, I think then remote job is gonna become an easy for you, because I seen people withdraw or employers resist to give the job because of the time zones. Right? You imagine you wake up, you give some instructions, and then you have to sleep again and wake up to get feedback. Right? So that delays the process. So that's, I think, only hesitation so far when it comes to remote job. Otherwise, I think it's a good experience, especially for introverts like me. So so far remote work is quite good.
That's great. So you talked about cake. Acha, how did you apply for this job? And we understand Tawk.to is a huge company. Uh, uh, it
Yes.
shows almost 50% of this chatbot online and customer support. So like, how did you apply for it, and what was the process? And it was your first job. So like, how did you tackle that process?
Right. So this was not the only job I applied for. I mean, as I seen that I'm seeing my graduation soon, so I started applying as far as for platform concerned. There was a couple of platforms that I started with. Indeed was there. The itself LinkedIn was there. These two, I think the monster.com.my as well, because it was local for Malaysian, because it has sub regions. I tried that as well. But I think most of the interesting companies and jobs that I see was on LinkedIn, right? So I started applying on LinkedIn, and then I come across job which says like mid to senior level. I was not sure that I should apply for that, but I did, and eventually I got a coding assessment test, and then I performed. There was some kind of manipulation, how you deal with time complexity, how you deal with space complexity, what is the best trade that you have to make with given the situations, because these two are like opposite to each other. You have to sacrifice one. In some cases you get best of both worlds, but eventually you have to make
Ideally,
a trade-off. Yeah, so actually that test was for me. In that perspective, they just wanted to know how my thought processing is. I think that's important for everyone who wants to hire someone in coding assessment. Yeah, so I did coding assessment, and after that I get another interview, and I talked to the interviewer, and he said like, um, for the mid to senior, I don't think you qualify, which I already knew, and that's true. There's no shame in it. I was just starting it, and he said like, we can offer you a junior position, um, if you would like to join us for, but at the moment I think you do not qualify for mid to senior level, which was pretty understandable. So then I went for it. I said like, sure, let's go into the junior thing. Let's see how it works. I never did a job before. I don't even know how two peoples can actually work on same repository, because pretty much all of my freelance was like one to one. I'm a developer, do all coding, push it, right? But so I started at like a junior position, junior backend engineer. I had training of around 6 months where we learned about design patterns, coding strategies, what are trade-offs, how we can save memory, how we can write few lines but better code, or sometimes more lines. Like even if you have to compare to the performance, it's not necessary that when you use a reduce function it's like that, so that means it's very effective. It can actually take more memory than a usual filter that we create depending on the situation or the given use cases. So we had a training of 6 months to actually pretty much know how you would work in industry. Um, the biggest hurdle for me was TDD, right?
Yeah,
Test driven development. I
development.
have never wrote a single test in my
I
entire
love
life.
it.
But that time, yes. And then I come to across like that's pretty cool. I mean, without
Yeah,
going to crash your application, you can actually test your application. This thing does exist, right? Even though it takes twice as much as time if you write your actual code, but I think it's worth it. It's worth it. It saves a lot of time when it comes to the production level issues. It's like I think 80 to 90% you tackle it within development rather than going to and like, oops, there's a bug and everything is crashing and you doesn't seems to be understand what's happening, right? So it's pretty cool, TDD. And the other thing that was um, pretty eye opening for me was there's no MVC structure in mid enterprise level. You have to understand either domain driven applications, event driven applications. It's not just simple um, MVC with Express, right? So I think that's what I would give away to all the developers who are still trying to land a job as backend engineer or API developer. Um, it's like to learn more techniques to build up architectures. MVC does not cut it. You have to learn about domain driven, right? You have to sometimes the event driven are more preferred than just sequential one. So those are the different architectures. Get your hands on that because it would be really hard otherwise to stay and survive and learn in especially the enterprise level because this was it's so fast. It's so fast you would even know you will not know and you will end up just looking everyone go ahead and you will like, what's wrong with me? It's
yeah,
nothing
that
wrong with
happens.
you. It's just you are not better equipped. You need some
Yes.
time to understand like what needs to be done. Yes.
So
So
yeah,
I think there's a book which is solid. I mean, the name is literally solid. uh, I would recommend if you guys, anyone would want to know about clean code, about the domain-driven applications, how you use interfaces and adapters and all that kind of stuff, infrastructures, domain, go for it. Just find a book which has solid basic principles and try to read that book, and hopefully that will actually open up a door for your mind to think there's unlimited possibilities to create an API that we never seem to see from a YouTube tutorial.
yeah, I would say a lot of times that YouTube is kind of not exactly, but kind of scam in a way that see उनका पर्पस ये है कि ज्यादा से ज्यादा लोग को ये लगे कि उनको चीज आ गई है. दैट पर्पस एक्चुअली नॉट कि वो सिखाएं. एक्चुअली इसके लोगों को फील हो कि वो मैं सिखा रहा हूँ उनको आ रही है. तो आई वुडेंट गो फॉर द कैवियार्ड्स और वो डिफरेंट चीजें वो डिफिकल्ट चीजें. मैं बताऊंगा
Hmm.
क्योंकि सी दिस ये आ गया ना, देखो मैं तुम्हें वेब डेवलपर बना दिया तो सामने बंदा लग रहा है हाँ ठीक है बहुत सही है, बट ही वुडेंट गो इनटू कि वो स्पेसिफिक कोड और स्पेसिफिक चीज है ना. सो दिस इज व्हाट आई फील कि यस यूट्यूब में ये है, लेकिन फॉर अ वेरी बिगनर यूट्यूब इज अ गुड रिसोर्स. बहुत उसको कुछ भी नहीं पता तो उसके लिए ठीक है, लेकिन इफ यू आर गोइंग इनटू लर्निंग सम डिफिकल्ट थिंग्स न्यू थिंग्स तो उसके लिए आई वुड प्रेफर कि वो बुक्स ज्यादा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन और ये ज्यादा चीजें देखे तो बेहतर रहता है. Acha, another thing
Yes.
that I really wanted to understand from your perspective. So the problem that
Okay.
I see is कि हम लोगों के पास the people that we are producing or the people that are working in industry, I would call them most of them is a translator. Okay, there's some business logic. They are able to convert that business logic into this syntax that we okay call it programming language. But
Mhm.
how many times do we actually understand what computer does to that? For example, if मैं programming कर रहा हूँ, तो basically I should be able to understand how computer functions. So for example, I asked someone, मैंने किसी पूछा कि ओके what definition programming में होता है कि कंप्यूटर को इंस्ट्रक्शन दो और कंप्यूटर को चीज करे, तो मैंने कहा कौन सी इंस्ट्रक्शंस होती हैं वो? सो एवरीवन वाज लाइक अरे वो जो हम लोग भी करते हैं क्लिक देते हैं बटन देते हैं, बट लाइक मैं कंप्यूटर को इंस्ट्रक्शंस है नहीं। कंप्यूटर की इंस्ट्रक्शंस ये होती है, मूव होता है, स्टोर होता है, लोड होता है, मल्टीप्लाई होता है, ऐड होता है। सो लाइक most of the people we actually don't understand what programming is, but actually understands the syntax और मैप कर लेते हैं हम लोग किसी तरीके से उस चीज को, and we are trying to do
Yes.
that. So like what's your point of view on that?
Uh, I think you are right. The people tend to get along with the syntax and start coding, but really doesn't get what's going on behind the scene, and it's not their fault as well
Yeah,
because
and we
the
understand industry doesn't
generation we
demand
are.
it.
Yes. I mean, even not just come to the demand thing. The It's just how it's been since we started. What we tend to do as software engineers is we put up a new abstraction, a layer of abstraction to make things simpler, right?
Yes.
And when a person that comes to the next layer does not care about the previous layer, right? And
Yes.
that's what happens, that it does not know what it does when you write if statement behind the scenes, right? So I think if someone really wants to get bottom to it, then unwrap all the layer of abstractions. I think the first layer of abstraction is, I mean, first the core is 0 and 1. We know that computer works in 0 and 1, right? Because there's electric signals, there's transistors. I mean, I can talk more detail on that, giving
Exactly.
the
Who better
electronics
than you to
background,
talk
but
about that?
yes. So the computer is just 1 and 0, which is just state state in a sense, like your button is turned on or turned off, right? That's our core. Then there comes a first layer, which is instruction sets, right? If you have ever programmed a simple chip, you would see there's instruction like add,
Yes.
jump, add to the
Branch.
memory, you later. Yes. So that was, I think, the first layer of abstractions, to because we cannot program in 1 and 0 because we are humans. We have kind of numbers. We are more get along with the alphanumerical thing, like multiply that, add that, rather than 101 that or 102 that, right? So the we make that 110 simple by giving another layer of abstraction of instructions, and then we another layer like, yeah, it's instructions, but now we have tables, like look for tables and do that, and then another layer of abstraction grow on top of layers until now we see that Python, which is very easy to understand by the human, but if you really look into it, there's like stack of layers that goes back to zeros and ones, right? So unless you really want to go through it, I would suggest like unwrap all the layers and see what's going on. If
अच्छा, one thing that I'm looking at आजकल ना, that's very, मुझे लगता है बहुत अनहेल्दी है एज अ प्रोग्रामर, एज अ डेवलपर हम लोग जो देखते हैं, दैट इज के फॉर एग्जांपल एक बंदा है वो फर्स्ट सेमेस्टर में, सेकंड सेमेस्टर में, वो उस कोड वोड ना कोई समझा नहीं है इतना, कोई ही इज नॉट वेरी बहुत बड़ा प्रोग्रामर, या कुछ होते हैं लोग जो सीख लेते हैं, आई एम नॉट सेइंग देयर नो पीपल लाइक दैट, होते हैं, लेकिन मेजोरिटी ऑफ पीपल लाइक लर्निंग फेज के अंदर है। पीपल स्टार्टेड ज्वाइनिंग लिंक्डइन पहले सेमेस्टर में, दूसरे सेमेस्टर में। I understand you need to have this community और वो network करना is really important, but like for example मैं, so what I'm trying to say is people are learning to market themselves before actually having something in them जो जिसको वो market कर सकें। So for example मैं बहुत सा आजकल ना I see people, random peoples, not random in the sense के random people I जिनका वो है लिखा हुआ है कि भाई लिंक्डइन मार्केटर, लिंक्डइन ब्रांड, वो कोई ऐसा, ठीक है। सो LinkedIn branding, I understand, but like brand का कोई value भी तो हो ना. So like for example, if I'm doing just branding on LinkedIn, so what's my value? And you see के बहुत सारे लोग हैं, वो likes भी मिल रहे हैं, वो people are like, yeah, this is good, but what's the value in it? So this is something that I feel very unhealthy that's happening around us. What do you think?
I think I completely agree. I really did not have much experience with non-tech one, but as you know, I have a little startup as well, and sometimes I do look for people to help me with the coding and stuff. And I come across a lot of people that say like I am this and that, but when it comes to the actual skill set, they lack fundamentals, and I think it's also not their fault because say if there is no a career path for a
Yeah.
JavaScript developer, and me, I mean honestly, when I said considering myself a developer, is because I finished a playlist from YouTube, right? And there was no one to validate me. There was no one to, tell me like this is just start. Now you need to do this in order for you to call yourself a developer at least, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where our gap lies as well. And my experience with our current software houses is also not, I would say, not really pleasant. Um, so many things. I think there's an beyond our level kind of problem, but I think they still teach old techs and still they don't teach it well, right? Because I believe being programmer is a lifestyle, and
Yeah.
if you don't teach a, a student how to live it, he would never be able to a good developer, right? This is a lifestyle. You don't only have to teach the right syntax, but you have to teach how to live it, how to feel it. Unless a individual cannot do it, he would not be confident enough to tell himself, like, yes, I think I'm a developer, and if someone comes with expectations, I can fulfill them, right? Otherwise, what happens is what you just described. We call ourselves developers without any validation, and what ends up happening is when actually you go and come in front of an interior, a coding assessment engineer, or some people that as in the recruitment, and they don't see that fire, that spark in you that you used to tell on your profiles, it's sort of a let go, right?
Yes.
So I think you're absolutely right. We should have something to tell young people, like, yes, you can call yourself developer or you cannot call your developer. Yeah.
हाँ मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ समवन इज शेयरिंग कि बहुत अच्छी कोडिंग रिपो है, उसने बहुत जबरदस्त कोड लिखा हुआ है, आई गेट इट. बट फॉर एग्जाम्पल बहुत छोटी छोटी चीजें दैट डोंट क्वालिफाई इट एज के आप यू हैव मेड इट राइट. एंड इफ यू राइट
Hmm.
50 पैराग्राफ ऑफ दैट, 50 लाइनें लिख दिया, उसके बाद नीचे. और देयर इज वन इंटरेस्टिंग थिंग दैट्स हैपनिंग, आई एम नॉट श्योर इफ यू हैव नोटिस्ड, पीपल आर यूजिंग वेरी creative hooks. Pehli line they would write some random shit. They would say, for example, uh, I became programmer and got married, something like that, and then the whole thing would be about something totally different. The people would
Yes.
put uh, random pictures. I just saw one of the most random posts, random picture, very random hook. I was like, what's that? Clicked it. I was like, I'm clickbaited. So now
Yes.
I'm being clickbaited on LinkedIn. दिस इज समथिंग दैट वन से से कि देखो नहीं करो, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. दिस इज वेरी प्रोफेशनल एंड पीपल जो हैं, अच्छा, जो मार्केट कर रहे हैं, जो एक्चुअल सेल्स के लोग हैं, जो एचआर के लोग हैं, दे शुड कम एंड क्लियरली से कि भाई देखो, अगर प्रोफाइल पे ऐसे करोगे 500 लाइक्स भी आ जाएंगे ना, वी विल कंसिडर यू एज अ हैक, हम तुमको हैक ही
Hmm.
समझेंगे. सो अंडरस्टैंडिंग एल्गोरिथम is not the, it should
Yes.
not be the criteria for someone being smart. Yes, they are smart in a way, but not in a way कि मैं आपको ना कोई टेक जॉब दे दूं या कोई ऐसी चीज दे दूं, दैट ठीक है वो. और उस बंदे की एक कंपनी में कितने ऐसे लोग होंगे जितने मुझे लिंक्डइन मार्केटर्स चाहिए? मुझे एक चाहिए होगा, दो चाहिए होंगे, मुझे पांच चाहिए होंगे। मैं अगर 500 लिंक्डइन
Right.
मार्केटर्स कर रहा हूँ तो वो उनकी जरूरत नहीं होगी। सो एंड दूसरी चीज
Yes,
ये
I think
एग्जैक्टली हाँ
that's also creating issues with HR, you
हाँ
know,
हाँ।
uh,
आई हैव अ फ्रेंड,
because
ही इज
I
लाइक
mean, you can get someone in 1 week, but because of all these other things,
नॉइस।
you end up spending so much time on just telling them like this is not how it works. Right?
एंड लाइक एंड
Yeah, so
द क्वालिटी ऑफ कोड एंड क्वालिटी, देयर इज कोडिंग लाइफस्टाइल है, प्रोग्रामिंग लाइफस्टाइल है, आप इसको एक्सेप्ट करो। सो बीइंग अ
yes,
प्रोग्रामर एंड बीइंग अ नॉर्मल पर्सन अपोजिट है। यू हैव टू हैव दैट, वो एक दिमाग में वो चीज ना। एंड इफ आई हैव टू हायर समवन ना, आई वुड फाइंड समवन विद imposter syndrome. These are the best
yes,
people. They will always try to improve things. Not like कि मतलब वो एक ही जगह पे अटके हुए हैं, but they would like यार अच्छा ये अच्छा मैं ये भी टेस्ट ड्रिवन डेवलपमेंट है, मुझे नहीं आती, तो he wouldn't think कि ये मैं तुम लोग कंपनी ऐसी, वो बोलेगा अच्छा यार ये मुझे नहीं आती, मुझे सीख के आनी थी ना, मैं सीखूंगा।
right,
सो वो हमें जो इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम है ना, कि अभी भी कोई नई चीज देखते हैं बोले यार ये नहीं आती, कि कैसे नहीं आती, कुछ है तो देखते हैं, ये लाइब्रेरी नहीं आती, कैसे नहीं आती। तो वो इम्पोस्टर सिंड्रोम वाली चीज रियली इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ लाइफस्टाइल है प्रोग्रामर्स के लिए।
e-
और
exactly. Or
दूसरा
I think that's I'll just point it up another point. I think ये जो है ना ये fundamental surviving point है किसी भी developer के लिए,
हाँ
because there's so many new techs coming, or if you don't get that zealous nature like wow React new version release, what is it in new
हाँ
version,
ना
what they did, how can I use it, if you don't have these curiosity questions in you, I think eventually you will be replaced by someone.
यार, I consider Andre Karpathy, if you have heard him, like he's one of the Andre Karpathy,
Yes.
he's like भाई मशीन लर्निंग डीप लर्निंग का सबसे बड़ा बंदा है। अभी भी
Yeah.
बेटा न्यूरल नेटवर्क स्क्रैच से बना रहा है। यू आर द पर्सन, जैसे पाई टॉर्च और ये खा के बैठे हो तुम। एंड लाइक अच्छा उसने रिसेंटली व्हाट ही डिड, ही क्रिएटेड दिस कंप्लीट जीपीटी आई थिंक इन सी प्लस प्लस। वो पूरा का पूरा उसने सी प्लस प्लस में कोड किया, बिकॉज ही सेइंग कि देखो ये सीखना है ना, करना है। सो दिस इज समथिंग आई वुड रियली रिस्पेक्ट
Exactly.
एन अ डेवलपर। वो लिंक्डइन पे पोस्ट नहीं कर रहा, कुछ नहीं कर रहा, बट लाइक द ट्रू रिस्पेक्ट दैट कम फ्रॉम दैट पर्सन ना, यार हाँ
Yeah.
ये बंदा है, जॉर्ज हॉर्स टाइप बंदे, तो वो उनके लिए एक
Of
डिफरेंट
course.
किस्म के रिस्पेक्ट आता है। बट द पीपल दैट आर लाइक देख के यार दीज आर काइंड ऑफ हैक है थोड़ा सा मतलब, तो वो चीज ना
Yeah.
हम लोग को बतानी चाहिए एटलीस्ट नए लोगों को, या नए लोगों को एटलीस्ट ये पता होना चाहिए कि नहीं ये दिस साउंड्स हैकी, तो हैकी साउंड नहीं करना, टेकी साउंड करना है। सो दिस इज
Right.
समथिंग दैट ये बहुत नॉइस क्रिएट कर रहा है ना सोशल मीडिया पे।
Correct.
अच्छा
I'm not sure if you have come across this YouTube channel with Coding Trend,
या
right?
ऑफ कोर्स
I
यार
love
डूड,
this guy. I love this
कम
guy.
ऑन, शिलमन समथिंग नाम है उस बंदे का यार, बट इज
Yes.
अमेजिंग पर्सन, अमेजिंग पर्सन।
Amazing
मैं उसके
person.
डिस्कॉर्ड कम्युनिटी में भी हूँ, बट यार हैट्स ऑफ।
Yes, it's not just he teaches the programming. I mean, he make you feel it.
या
So I love this guy. Anyone wondering to get started on the programming thing, I think that would be one of your channels that you need to see how developers live their life, right? What's their nature? How, the simple things make them happy because it's simple but it's beautiful,
yes, it's
right?
elegant solution that you
Elegant,
see.
of course.
This is the elegant algorithm you just came up with, and you were like, yeah, come on, this is like amazing. And
Yes,
another guy, Pramajan is an amazing guy also. The prime time
yes,
और नेटफ्लिक्स वाला बंदा,
right.
यार ही इज अमेजिंग पर्सन।
Yeah,
वो
awesome.
ही आर्टिकल्स का रिएक्ट करता है, वीडियो का रिएक्ट करता है, एंड प्राइमेजिन का चैनल है, बट इतना अमेजिंग
Yeah,
करता है, इतना अमेजिंग, आई फील लाइक यस, क्योंकि उसमें एक्चुअली फॉर एग्जांपल ही जस्ट डिड दिस ऊप का ऑब्जेक्ट ओरिएंटेड दिस गाय, उसने लिखा है पूरा का पूरा एक आर्टिकल है जिसमें ही इज लाइक कि ऊप को खत्म हो जाना चाहिए, एंड लाइक फंक्शनल
right.
प्रोग्रामिंग इज लाइक फ्यूचर, और वो सारा उसने लिखा है। एंड देन उसने पूरा का पूरा रिव्यू किया, एंड बिकॉज उस बंदे का प्रोग्रामिंग का इतना अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस है, इतना बड़ा एक्सपीरियंस है, ही अंडरस्टैंड्स कि वो वाकई में वहां पर एक कंपोजिशन और इनहेरिटेंस का एक मसला
Yes,
है, एंड वी ऑल अंडरस्टैंड कि कंपोजिशन इनहेरिटेंस का बाकी जेन्युइन इशू है। वाकई में जब बड़े एंटरप्राइज लेवल पे काम कर रही हो, अंडरस्टैंड कि कितना इशू
Yes,
कॉज कर सकती हैं इफ यू नॉट केयरफुल अबाउट इट। देन वो बताता है कि किस
correct.
तरीके से वो फंक्शन प्रोग्रामिंग के अंदर उसको सॉल्यूशन है। तो वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीजें हैं। सो आई वुड प्रेफर
Exactly.
एनीवन हु इज लाइकिंग इन लोगों की तरह देन समवन हु इज लाइक जिसके इवन 5 करोड़ फॉलोअर्स हैं लेकिन ये साउंड्स हैकी, तो मजा नहीं आ रहा।
Right.
अच्छा।
So about this coding guy, the other, you remember we used to learn the Fourier series and Fourier
यस
transforms in
यस यस
our,
आई रिमेम्बर।
you know, bachelor's as an electronics engineer. But um, the guy, I've seen his video, he's making art out of it. I was like,
ओ माय
wow,
गॉड।
I never get to understand the series itself, and you're making art with it. Man, this is that lifestyle when you feel like you're
यस
coder, a simple boring thing which is not boring if you really get into it, but from looks of it, it's very boring. But you see how he can make such amazing arts out of this just 4 year series. I think you should try watch that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would definitely, I'm up for it. So, अच्छा, and other thing that's very kind of bothering me is like ये जो rise है ना AI का in code generation specifically. This is something in a sense के that's like I'm not saying कि मैं कोई डर रहा हूँ कि वो कोई jobs लेगा. The मेरा concern ही उल्टा है. Concern उल्टा है. A lot of people are writing really bad code out of this. फॉर एग्जाम्पल
Yes.
अ क्लाइंट केम टू मी, मेरे पास आया और मुझे बोलता है यार आई हैव टू डू दिस, ये मुझे टास्क है, मशीन लर्निंग का कोई टास्क है एंड ही वांटेड टू डू दैट। ठीक है। अच्छा, व्हाट ही डिड, वो पहले चैट जीपीटी को बता के आया था, उस चैट जीपीटी ने उसे कुछ उल्टी सीधी चीजें बताई हुई थी अकॉर्डिंग टू हिज लिमिटेड नॉलेज। अब वो मुझे आगे बोल रहा है कि यार ये ऐसे होता है, ये अरे भाई देख, फॉर एग्जाम्पल उसका मेन मसला था ना, he was creating a model that was not improving the performance and he wanted to improve the performance of the model and he came to me for that
Right.
purpose। मैं कहा ठीक है करते हैं, कुछ हो जाएगा, इसका इम्प्रूव करते हैं परफॉर्मेंस का। बट लाइक ही इज गिविंग विद दिस कोड कि अब मैं तुम्हें इतनी ये सारा का सारा कोड दे रहा हूँ, सो चार्ज मी लेस। लाइक दिस इज नॉट हाउ इट वर्क्स। आई हैव टू राइट माय
Yes.
ओन कोड एंड वो सारी की सारी चीजें, इट्स ये कोड है वन आई नो दिस इज एआई जनरेटेड पूरा का पूरा एंड दिस इज नॉट हाउ इट्स गोना
Yeah.
वर्क। सो दिस
I think
बैड
if someone would say that to me, I would charge twice because first, I'm understanding all of your code, and second, I'm improving.
yes,
Right? So
so
it's twice time consuming than writing from scratch.
exactly, so I was like this is not how it works and this is not my only experience with this। बहुत सारे लोग आते
Right.
हैं, स्टूडेंट वुड डू थिंग्स के मैं सिखाता हूँ ना, तो स्टूडेंट कम अप विद सॉल्यूशंस एंड आई वाज लाइक ये तुमने सोचा है? और वो बोलते हाँ मैंने सोचा। हम लाइक नहीं तुमने नहीं सोचा ये, दिस एल्गोरिथम एग्जिस्ट समवेयर, मुझे पता है वो कहाँ पे एग्जिस्ट करता है एंड इट्स फ्रॉम देयर एंड ये जनरेटेड है, दिस कोड इज जनरेटेड। सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट्स कॉजिंग मी कि लाइक यार नहीं, ये इतनी ज्यादा जो एक्सेसिबिलिटी हो गई है ना इस चीज की, इट्स
Mm.
कॉजिंग अस डैमेज इन सम सॉर्ट ऑफ वे।
Yes. That code generation is actually a good example of bad use, but I'll give you a good side of it. Have you come across the GitHub Copilot?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
No, I'm not saying I
So
love it. I love it.
yes, but every coin has both
Yeah,
sides, and
yeah.
when you look at the good side, I think it's okay if there's some bad sides, because I think I love Copilot, and especially now they are giving you ability to train your model on your own repositories, because they will learn to code like you. I mean, it would save 50 or more percent of time for a developer. That's a great.
Yeah, a lot of boilerplate code आपका जनरेट हो जाता है। और
Yes.
I love all these examples, but इसका पता है, let me give you another caveat. I was doing this thing very, I was like very shocked and like annoyed as well। this कि अभी आप अगर कोलैब खोलते हो तो जैसे आप लिखोगे फॉर एग्जांपल आपने इंपोर्ट numpy, वो np बताएगा, वो मैटप्लॉटलिब कर देगा, pandas कर देगा, प्रेस टैब एंड वो पूरा मतलब बताएगा कि ये है, मैं कर दूं, अगर प्रेस टैब तो वो कर देगा एंड आई डोंट लाइक इट, आई लाइक राइटिंग इट। ठीक है। अब द ओके, पहले मेरे ये मसला था, मैंने कहा ठीक है चलो यार, ठीक है कोई अच्छी चीज भी दिखा रहा है कभी कभी। देन आई वाज फॉलोइंग दिस गिटहब रिपोजिटरी, मैं गिटहब रिपोजिटरी को फॉलो करता था, लर्निंग सम मॉडल कि मैं कोई चीज सीख रहा था,
Mm.
कि देख रहा था। Interestingly, the Gemini was predicting exact same variable names, exact same values। I was उसमें एक जगह है जहां पर हम लोग पाइटॉट के थ्रू कोई रैंडम नंबर जनरेट कर रहे थे। वो सीड भी सेम ले रहा है, उसके बाद साइज ऑफ मैट्रिक्स भी सेम ले रहा है, द वेरिएबल नेम भी सेम ले रहा है। आई वाज
Right.
लाइक, तो आई वाज लाइक अगर हम लोग गिटहब पे कोड रखते हैं तो समवन कैन यूज इट लाइक दैट। सो दैट्स काइंड ऑफ वेरी स्कैरी कि ओके,
Yes.
इवन इफ इट्स इन पब्लिक रिपोजिटरी, लेकिन अगर मेरा कोड इस तरीके से कोई भी मेरा ट्यूटोरियल अगर मैंने बनाया, ट्यूटोरियल मैंने यूट्यूब बना के उसे अपना गिटहब पे रख दिया, जेमिनी वालों ने उसको ट्रेन कर दिया, सो नाउ इफ समवन इज फॉलोइंग माय ट्यूटोरियल, तो वो बेसिकली कंप्लीट का कंप्लीट वो चीज कर रहा है। एंड दिस वाज
Yes.
समथिंग आई थॉट कि ठीक है, स्मार्ट हो सब कुछ हो, लेकिन एटलीस्ट ये तो ना हो। तो दिस वाज समथिंग आई
Yes.
वाज लाइक डेंजरस। आई थॉट नहीं यार, ये ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए। बट जैसे मैं करता गया, वो पूरा नोटबुक बना के दे दिया उसने मुझे, एंड आई वाज लाइक ट्राइंग टू सी के इसका क्या है। तो मैं दूसरे सेल पे गया,
Yes.
दूसरे सेल पे उसने बोला कि अच्छा ये सेल ऐसे चला तो ये इधर होगा, एंड वाज गोइंग डूइंग थिंग्स कंटिन्यू करता जा रहा है। लाइक यार दिस इज डेंजरस के जो लोग नया सीख रहे हैं।
Yes. Of course. जो new सीख रहे हैं. I remember when we started. I'm not sure if you did the same thing. We were not used to code in VS Code
यस,
because
नोटपैड में लिखते थे।
because yes, because they were giving even short autocompletes, and we did not wanted that because as a starter, I want to write every
यस,
single thing, right? So we don't use VS Code. We use Notepad, and not even Notepad. It's a specific Notepad plus plus, right? There was Atom, there was Sublime. That without autofill stuff, I think that was the best way. I think right now, if I would teach someone, I would give him Notepad, right? Or I think God bless our teachers. One of our teacher is used to dry run. He used to make us dry run that code. Like imagine write on a paper what would do in the memory, what would happen in the console. I think that perspective when you give to a student, that gives that zealous nature when he write the Python in a very AI generative world where he would still know like what's going on behind the scenes. Except a new person, you just sit there, you would like, yes, it's just helping me, it's nothing doing else. But you see it, you see like, wow, it's just not autocomplete. The things it went through to do that autocomplete is just stunning, right?
एग्जैक्टली। और यही है ना कि आई लव वीएस कोड की एक्सटेंशन। बट आई वाज टॉकिंग, आई वाज लिसनिंग टू दिस पॉडकास्ट ना, तो ही वाज लाइक ये ठीक है, ऑटो कंप्लीट इज गुड, ऑटो कंप्लीट इज रियली गुड, बट व्हाट वुड आई प्रेफर मोर वुड बी समथिंग लाइक अ टाइप चेकर इन अ सेंस के इफ आई एम मेकिंग अ बग, टाइप चेंज कर रहे हो, कोई ऑपरेशन परफॉर्म कर रहे हो मैनिपुलेशन में, एंड आई एम डूइंग अ बग, so a system that would be able to detect bugs rather than doing just
Hmm.
autocomplete or telling me कि यहाँ पर ये break it नहीं है, but telling me कि okay, so you ये type इस तरीके का था, ये तरीके का था, तो I'm thinking कि तुम जो return करना चाहते हो वो कुछ इस तरीके का होगा, but the way
Hmm.
you're returning it, it will do something else. So it's better to do
Right.
this. So I would prefer कि is autocomplete is like very, and we all understand कि it's easy to do that. Autocomplete करना with a huge repository is an easier task than to do this bug वाली चीज. So that would something
Yes.
that I would really like to see in future कि अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है ना तो वो मजेदार होगा, especially क्योंकि Python के अंदर because हम लोग के पास वो
Maybe we
types,
try to do that. I
yeah.
don't know. Maybe if we crack this out, we can just,
Yeah,
you know,
because that would be
make it happen.
interesting because I'm really thinking कि मैं वो टाइप इन्फोर्समेंट वाला तो कुछ सोच रहा हूँ, आई एम वर्किंग ऑन दिस थिंग, एटलीस्ट पाइथन के अंदर टाइप इन्फोर्स करवा लो कि वो उसके बाद टाइप लिखना पड़े आपका वेरिएबल का क्या है, बिकॉज यू कैन डू इट ऑप्शनली बट यू आर नॉट सपोज टू डू इट। सो एक मोड हो कोई ऐसा हो जिसमें पाइथन का टाइप वाला है कोई सीन वो लगे, उसके बाद आगे जो है वो फिर सीन सही है। तो उधर क्योंकि पाइथन में ना आई फेस अ लॉट ऑफ बग्स बिकॉज ऑफ दिस के,
Hmm.
और इट्स के, और दूसरा इट्स नॉट कि क्योंकि मेरा सारा कोड होता है ना, अ लॉट ऑफ कोड किसी और ने किया है, आई एम मेंटेनिंग दैट थिंग,
Hmm.
मैं किसी और चीज के उसके साथ काम कर रहा हूँ, उसका पैटर्न उसका तरीका थोड़ा डिफरेंट था, नाउ टू फॉलो ऑल दिस और नॉट मेकिंग बग्स इन दैट, वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है कि अगर कोई ऐसी चीज आ जाती है, ऐसा कोई टाइप चेकर आ जाता है, कोई ऐसा आता है, दैट वुड बी समथिंग दैट आई वुड रियली लव टू यूज।
Yes. Absolutely agree. And a tip for people who doing Node.js and not using TypeScript, okay, because TypeScript does give the all that
टाइप हाँ
handy features that don't do this. I will yell at you if you do this, right? But if you write plain Node JavaScript, then probably you don't have that leverage in that part. So what I used to do is actually JS docs it, right? So instead of just assuming or imagining how would object look like, you just type def it. JS docs is very easy. You can create a definition there, a short one, and just put it. And VS Code is very intelligent enough to actually, when you open a new file, it gives you autocomplete with those methods and those properties, so that you avoid making issues, and you
यस
also don't want to go into TypeScript deep. Then this is the mid thing that I think would work best for you.
या जेएसडॉस इज अमेजिंग वाकई में उसके पहले उधर सारी चीजें मेंशन करके आओ, फिर दूसरी फाइल में जब डॉट मेन डॉट जेएस बनाओ, इंडेक्स डॉट जेएस बनाओ, तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली बता रहा होगा अच्छा ये मेथड है ना, इसका रिटर्न टाइप ये है, ये मेथड है, इसका वो जो आर्ग्यूमेंट पैरामीटर्स हैं वो इस टाइप के। तो दिस इज एक्चुअली
Yes.
रियली इंटरेस्टिंग अप्रोच
Yes.
उसके अंदर। या
I often do that. I love it.
या
I often do it.
अच्छा
If
सो
you don't believe my React function, if I write a React function, for example, we are creating a thunk, the function is a middle part, and it's hard to give, type dev to something that is a middle argument, right? Like a callback.
a utility of sort।
Yes, so you will see that I have expanded all the arguments to the new line and I typed it there. I mean, sometimes I just take it out and give reference to the type, but in often case where there's a small object, no need big kind of definition, I literally a simple call, space it and put the type depth there. That's how I love to do that if you don't using TypeScript, because it's gonna save so much time when you opening a new file and you assuming what this gonna return again, go back, check what this. Instead of that, you can just simply control space it and
यार
it
नया
will
बंदा कितनी
auto.
दुआएं देगा, वो जो पहली मतलब फाइल खोल रहा होगा, मे बी लाइक
Yes.
थैंक गॉड एंड लाइक हाउ मेनी टाइम्स वी हैव सीन समवन एल्सेस कोड एंड वी लाइक यार ये मिल जाए, एक मरतबा ये मिल जाए बंदा।
Hmm.
तो like, उसे
Do that.
पूछना है क्या, so I'll tell you very
Why?
interesting why
Right?
why why
Why?
why अच्छा so did you heard about this SSI thing, Ilyas Astekar started a new company, Safe Super
Really?
Intelligence. Yeah, he just did. Ilya started this,
Awesome.
and like the
I
name, okay, the web page is just HTML, 4 lines of CSS. Just
the guy is savage, man.
come on, yeah. Ilya is like, and like the name is like mocking OpenAI. It's like safe super intelligence. So everything
Yeah.
that everyone else in the world stands for, I'm just gonna ruin it. I'm just gonna tell you these are guys not safe. We are going to do it safe, and we are not going to go
Yes.
for AGI. We are going to go for super intelligence. And he's like,
Right.
we are also hiring right now. Anyways, it was great talking to you. It's great talking to you.
It
अच्छा,
was great.
would you लास्ट में ना कोई सजेशन जो नए लोग आ रहे हैं, जो नए लोग सीख रहे हैं जावास्क्रिप्ट के बारे में, मर्न के बारे में कोई, so that we can end this.
I mean, there's a lot, but I think don't just stick with ये करोगे तो ये होगा. When it comes to coding, you actually get behind it. You understand why you did it in the first place, rather than just sticking with ये करूँगा तो ये होगा. That would be first giveaway. And if you don't seem to think how it's work, as I said in before, try to unwrap all the abstractions and see. Maybe not all of them, since I understand not everyone come from the electronics background and it's very techy stuff. That's the only reason in the first place we created the abstractions, remember? So
Yeah,
I think just unwrap as much as you can and try to understand how it goes. And if this abstraction thing really intrigues you, then I would suggest that there's a crash course YouTube channel, and in there you'll find a playlist of computer science. I would highly encourage and recommend guys to watch it. It's pretty good. And so as developer, live it, and hopefully you're gonna see some success. Maybe delayed, no doubt, but you will see it. Inshallah.
Okay,
Right.
फ्रंट एंड मास्टर के बारे में बता दो प्लीज.
Yes. So if you guys really want to see ex employees or still employees which are in, I will restart that one. Okay. Okay, so if you want to see some very successful people coding and how the way they think, I think there's two platforms which are very great for that. Bleuler site is one of them. You would see some very interesting known people who have given their lives for the companies, are actually trying to teach you how to think, how to work, how to program. So that would one side. Another side, which is my personal favorite, is front end masters, and in there you will see engineers, a lot of creative peoples which have worked with Microsoft, Netflix, and different companies, and they still come take their time to teach and learn. You actually, when you see from a well-known perspective, or a person who has given their life to these kind of technologies, it really gives you a new perspective. Like, yeah, it, can I think like that in the first place? Maybe you'll see, but it will gives you a new perspective. So I would highly encourage new students who are learning programming, go for front end masters. And actually, if be part of some sort of university, you must have your student emails, the GitHub student packs. You can sign up for it. It's very free. It gives you 6 months of free access to these platforms, and I think that's one of the best for a student to see really how programming really should be taught or learned from. Right. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jan. Thanks so much, Kaisar. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Okay,
It's really great to have you.
bye.
Okay. See ya.
See
Take
ya.
care.